Hi, I'm Whitney Quesenbery. I'm working with ITIF on the Accessible Voting Technology Initiative and on this OpenIDEO challenge exploring how we might make elections accessible. As a user experience researcher, after the 2000 election, I saw that design could make a difference in elections. I've had a chance to work since then on guidelines for voting systems, usability testing ballots, and other projects. But I'm really excited about the possibility for this challenge to come up with new ideas. For the past month or so, we've been learning about accessibility in elections in the inspiration phase. Now that concepting's in full swing, I'd like to help answer some of the questions that have come up. The first question is, quite simply, why is accessibility so important in elections? We can look at this by the numbers. In the U.S., almost 15% of people over 18 years old have at least one disability, and that number rises to 35% for people over 65. If you think about it, that means all of us will probably be affected directly or through somebody we know. We've put together some quick personas as examples of the people we're designing for. Check them out in the Field Notes blog post Concepting Personas on OpenIDEO.com. As you can see in the personas, there are many types of disability: mobility, vision, hearing, dexterity, and cognitive. Disabilities can be something you're born with, but they can also develop with age or be caused by injury or be temporary. And they can be affected by context, like trying to hear in a noisy place or trying to read text that's just too small. When I first started working on accessible design, it was hard to try to consider so many different factors. One tip I have for you is to think about flexibility. This can mean designing features that everyone can use, like curb cuts or OXO Good Grips kitchen tools, or it can mean finding ways to let people choose between different options easily. We can also think about a goal of letting everyone have equal access. If you think about a building, this would mean that everyone can use the front door instead of some people having to use a ramp in the back. Accessibility is an important goal in general, but one of the reasons it's so important for this challenge is because voting is central to democracy. The degree to which everyone participates in an election says something about our society. We know, for example, that people with disabilities are less likely to participate in elections, over 5% less. That may not seem like a lot, but across a whole country it adds up to a lot of voices missing from our democracy. The goal of this challenge and our project is to understand and eliminate the barriers in elections so that no one is excluded. In the challenge brief, we talked about voting privately and independently. Those words have special meaning in elections. When we say privately, we can think about a voter who has to ask someone to read their ballot aloud and mark their choices for them. That's not private voting. Even if you trust the person, you've had to give up having a secret ballot. Independent means voting without help. As an example, if a voter has to ask a poll worker for assistance casting a ballot, they're not truly voting independently. How can we make it possible to vote without having to ask for special help? An important focus of this challenge is designing tools, technologies, resources, or campaigns that support people voting independently without the help of others, while also ensuring that their ballot stays secret. The great news is that we have a much better toolkit to help us figure this out than we did just a few years ago. It's possible to make web, mobile, and phones accessible. In fact, a lot of assistive technology now looks more like a regular consumer product than a medical device. A few years ago, a portable GPS navigation system was the size of a shoulder bag. Now it's just one app on a smartphone. Book readers let you switch between visual and audio reading by doing little more than plugging in a headset. So how can we use these new everyday technologies to enable private and independent election experiences? Although technology can be an important part of the solution, elections are really a human community process in which people matter too. There are a lot of people in elections. There are poll workers and election officials, community leaders, campaign organizers, and everyday citizens. Individuals and the whole community can be part of including everyone. You could be a poll worker, organize a carpool, or be a voting buddy. Concepts for how the community can support accessible elections are also an important part of the solution. Now it's time to take this and everything we learned during inspiration to build concepts together. A couple of final notes about your concepts. First, remember that your ideas don't have to be novel in order to be innovative. Think about ways to build on existing ideas, resources, or technologies and adapt them for use in elections. Also remember that election departments work on limited budgets. A concept that is simple and flexible might be more realistic than a big, complex idea that is expensive or difficult to implement. Finally, concepting is a time for us to collaborate and to build on the work of our fellow community members. So whether your concept is fully formed or just in the beginning stages, every idea is welcome and will help all of us design together. We can't wait to see what you come up with, so head over to Concepting to get started. Also, don't forget to check out the list of resources we've created to help you concept, brainstorm, and collaborate during this phase. You can find them in the Learn More section on the left margin of our Concepting homepage. Thanks, and looking forward to your concept.